Do you remember the devastating earthquake and tsunami that struck Japan in 2011? Here's a chilling fact. More than a decade earlier, an unknown artist had drawn that exact scene in a forgotten manga. Was it just a coincidence or a real prophecy from the future? Have you ever had a dream so vivid that it stuck with you for years? Some dreams just come and go, but others? They feel like glimpses into the future. Well, in 1999, a little-known manga artist in Japan published a comic that quietly recorded 15 of her most haunting dreams. At first, no one paid it much attention. But here's where things get wild. As the years passed, those dreams started to come true, one after another. And now, we're left with the final, most terrifying prophecy, which, according to her manga, is set to happen at 5:00 a.m. on July 5th, 2025. So, what did she see? And why have readers been unable to shake off this mystery for over 2 decades? Let's dive in and unravel the story. And hey, if you're into unsolved mysteries, make sure to like and subscribe before we get started. Who knows, maybe it'll bring you a bit of luck. Back on July 1st, 1999, this strange manga called The Future I Saw was released in Japan. The cover was simple, the artwork wasn't flashy, and the creator wasn't famous. Most people ignored it. If you happened to pick it up, you'd just see rough pencil sketches of weird dreams, with notes scribbled in the margins. It looked more like a dream journal than a proper comic. Messy, mysterious, and sometimes so cryptic you could barely guess what it meant. But everything changed in March 2011 when a massive earthquake and tsunami struck Japan. Over 15,000 lives lost, thousands missing, and the whole world watching as a nation built on technology was swallowed by the sea. During those chaotic days, someone online remembered that obscure manga. When people went back and checked, they were stunned. One of the dreams, drawn more than a decade earlier, looked exactly like the disaster that had just happened. Seawater flooding city streets, tsunami waves crashing inland, and even the numbers 311, March 11th, written on the cover. The coincidence was just too precise to ignore. Suddenly, everyone was searching for a copy, flipping through every page, and treating it like some kind of coded message from the future. Readers counted all 15 dreams and realized, shockingly, that 12 and a half of them had already come true. Of course, the first thing everyone wanted to know was, who was this mysterious author? All they had was a pen name, Tatsuki. No one knew anything about her. Even the publisher had lost all contact. In an age where it's hard to stay anonymous, Tatsuki's true identity remained a total enigma. This only made things more mysterious. Fake Tatsuki accounts started popping up everywhere, sharing their own prophecies and causing confusion. Some people thought it was an elaborate hoax. Others speculated Tatsuki was actually an organization, or maybe even part of a bigger conspiracy. Then, in October 2023, as interest in the manga exploded again, Tatsuki finally returned. She re-released The Future I Saw, but this time, she included full explanations and details about her life. Turns out, Tatsuki was born in 1954 in Kanagawa, and she now lives in Yokohama. Her childhood was pretty average, except for one thing. Starting at age 9, she began having strange dreams. Dreams that didn't feel like regular dreams at all. In these dreams, she would meet an old man with silver hair and kind eyes. He spoke gently and told her about events that hadn't happened yet. Sometimes they'd just walk together under the moonlight, with him whispering secrets she wouldn't understand until much later. Her first truly unsettling dream came in November 1976. She saw a man collapse while singing on stage. The man was Freddie Mercury, lead singer of Queen. At the time, Mercury was at the height of his fame and health, so she didn't tell anyone. But she drew the dream in her journal. 15 years later, Freddie Mercury died, on the same date she'd dreamed about. When she saw fans making a movie about him, just like in her drawing, she realized this was more than coincidence. After that, the dreams started coming more often, sometimes happening 5, 10, or even 15 years after she saw them. She documented everything: the place, sounds, colors, names, even her feelings. Another example, on August 31st, 1992, she dreamed about a long corridor, a painting of a blonde woman named Dana, and suddenly, chaos, metal crashing, people screaming. 5 years later to the day, Princess Diana died in a car crash in Paris. Again, her sketch matched reality in chilling detail. By 1995, the dreams grew even more serious. Earthquakes, tsunamis, and disasters on a massive scale. That urgency led her to finally create the manga she'd later become famous for. In one dream, she saw devastation and wrote in her journal, "Something will rupture in 15 days." Exactly 15 days later, the Kobe earthquake hit, killing thousands. Once she published the manga in 1999, Tatsuki vanished. And that probably would have been the end of the story, if not for one more dream. In July 2021, she woke up drenched in sweat after seeing something terrifying. She was alone in a massive sea under a gray sky. The ocean south of Japan began to boil, and suddenly, 2 gigantic dragons rose from the depths, twisting and tearing at the Earth's crust. There was a deafening explosion, and then silence, as everything was swallowed by water. She realized this dream was a continuation of one she'd had years before, only this time, the details were crystal clear and way more violent. She felt she couldn't stay quiet any longer. So, in 2023, she re-released her book with new dreams, and, most importantly, a warning. A catastrophe was coming, one even worse than before. In this vision, she stood high above the sea south of Japan. At first, everything was eerily calm. Then, air started bubbling up from the ocean floor, clear signs of an underwater volcano about to erupt. And then, the 2 giant dragons reappeared, circling the bubbling water like guardians of something hidden. Suddenly, a gigantic column of water shot up, and a tsunami, 3 times bigger than the one in 2011, crashed onto the land, dragging away cities, cars, and millions of lives. But it didn't end there. After the wave, a new land began to rise from the ocean, jagged, untouched, and ancient. In that moment, she understood. This new land would connect Japan, Taiwan, Hong Kong, and the Philippines. Where most people see endings in disaster, Tatsuki's dreams saw a new beginning, a chapter humanity never expected. Here's the part that gives everyone chills. She saw the exact date. It was written in her dream, 5:00 a.m., July 5th, 2025. Of course, many dismissed her as just another doomsayer. But people who had followed her predictions for decades weren't so quick to laugh. And the big question was, could this really happen? Surprisingly, scientists say it's possible, even if the odds are low. Japan sits right on the Pacific Ring of Fire, where tectonic plates are constantly moving, triggering earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Sometimes, these even create new land. It happened in 2013, when an underwater volcano off the coast of Nishinoshima formed a new island that quickly doubled in size. And in 2021, the Kuril Islands saw a similar event. Researchers noticed that the 2 dragons in her drawings line up almost perfectly with the locations of the Philippine Sea Plate and the Pacific Plate, exactly where underwater volcanic eruptions are most likely to happen. In the right conditions, an eruption could push the seafloor up, forming new islands or even a continent. There's one last dream from the late 1990s that haunted Tatsuki. In it, she heard a powerful, ancient roar from deep within the earth. When she woke up in the dream, the clock read exactly 5 o'clock. She stepped outside to find her city destroyed, roads shattered, buildings half gone, everything surrounded by water. There were no people, just emptiness. When she reissued her book, Tatsuki added a note. She didn't know if that dream showed the 2011 earthquake or something even worse, but one detail stood out. She was wearing a short-sleeved shirt, even though March in Japan is cold. The disaster she saw was in summer, just like her prediction for July 2025. Maybe you don't believe in dreams. Maybe you think the future can't be foretold. But if this story made you pause, even for a moment, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm always here to dig deeper into these unsolved mysteries with you. And if you want more stories like this, hit subscribe and ring the bell so you never miss out. See you in the next video.